In this edition of WUCF Artisodes, a painter with a passion to beautify his community.
I kept everything upbeat, like positive and like inspirational stuff, because I'm just trying to pass on positive vibes.
And these old dogs are always looking for new tricks, or at least new ways to bring the past to life.
We have a history of art, and so it's important to share that.
It's all coming up on WUCF Artisodes. Jeff Sonksen is a carpenter by trade, but an artist at heart. A downturn in the economy helped him blaze a new trail in life.
I always painted. I think as a kid, I liked to paint and draw. My parents were real cool though, growing up. I remember I must have been 8, 10 years old. They let me paint my room all the way around, just draw all in my room, all on the walls, all 4 walls. So they embraced it, they were real cool about it. Paint the trail. There's a bicycle trail, the Seminole Wekiva Bicycle Trail. I hung up my first painting of 4 years ago. Back then I was struggling as a carpenter, cabinet maker. It was after the housing bubble burst. Something I wasn't used to. I had a lot of time on my hands. I'm a busybody person. I like to stay busy, and I was really frustrated trying to find work. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was sort of just a juvenile thing. I did a couple paintings on some pickets and screwed them to the trail as the sun was going down because I was trying to irritate everybody. So that's how it started. And I did that for about 4 months until I realized that people liked it and it wasn't irritating them at all. I painted Einstein and Yoda, 2 different panels that weren't very big. I remember I had my screw pouch. I'd grab a panel, so I'd look both ways, I wouldn't hear anything, and I think I'd run down about 40, 50 feet and screwed the paintings in and got out of there. And I thought it was hysterical. I pretty much was almost laughing out loud. I never, ever in my wildest dreams, like back then, would think that 4 years later I'd still be doing it. I was just gonna do 4 or 5 of them and that was it. I think it was sort of a thrill, not getting caught, and then you'd hear people talking about it, like they were trying to figure out who was doing it. And so that kind of amped me up a little bit, do some more. I didn't ask permission, I just stuck them out there. I think I flew under the radar for like 10 months or something, or almost a year, before anybody really knew what was kind of going on out there. I got busted by some people, and I remember the first guy that saw me, that ever saw me, was he stopped on his bike right away and he said, "Hey, are you the one doing these paintings?" And I said, "Yeah." I was like, you know, and he was like, "I love it." The county got a hold of me, Seminole County Cultural Arts, and they awarded me Artist of the Year for 2013. Which I thought was, you know, just nuts. I figured I would get, you know, the police would come knocking on my door or something. I didn't expect to get an award.
I think it makes the trail more interesting, engaging. There may be people who don't care for it or who feel that it obstructs some of the nature, but I think the fence itself does that, and this is adding art to a fence.
I'm gonna paint 5 miles, and I just kind of said it as a joke. And I've said it so many times that I think, like I said, I Jedi mind tricked myself into believing I can do it. If you look at the artwork out there, there's nothing negative. I never painted anything that would agitate anybody. I kept everything upbeat, like positive and like inspirational and stuff. Maybe I was trying to uplift myself up or something. I don't know what I was trying to do, but that's still the theme out there, because I'm just trying to pass on positive vibes. That's all I'm trying to do. When people go out there and they walk and they read some of that stuff, I just want them to walk away in a better mood. If they see something that could inspire them or make them feel better, then wherever it is they're going that day, they're gonna be in a little bit better mood, and the people that they're with are gonna sense that.
I think it's spectacular to society in general, because anytime you can highlight the arts are like the whipped cream on dessert. Dessert isn't even necessary, and if you can add something to make people be aware of it, I think that just enhances society.
Since I've been painting the trail out there, I've really changed my whole way of thinking. Every once in a while, people will ask me if I could do this carpentry stuff for them or cabinet stuff for them, and I have no desire. I love the art.
As part of WUCF's American Graduate Initiative, Artisodes proudly honors our Student Artist of the Week as we bring awareness to the dropout crisis and encourage Central Florida's children to succeed.
I'm Brooke Hill, and I'm a graduated senior at the First Academy, and I'm currently enrolled in UCF. I got started in art when I was really little, like probably 2 years old. I would always watch VeggieTales, and I would just want to draw my favorite characters. So I definitely think that it was a God-given talent because I've always just had that desire to just make things, just to create. Art is used to talk, to speak to other people, and I always want to make something that will speak to people, maybe have a hidden meaning or have something to say other than the actual picture itself.
Brooke has a special way of expressing herself. A lot of artists express themselves by their visual voice of what they see and want to interpret on a canvas. Brooke thinks and feels and has found a way visually to express something that means a lot to her, and that is a real hard thing for a young person to do.
The human trafficking topic is so important to me because I love justice and I want to do something about it. And since I have a talent for art, I can paint things and I can bring awareness to people who may actually physically do something about it. I really like the mother and the child one. That one took me forever to get the skin tones right. I really love doing eyes, and if you look at the eyes, they have a lot of emotion. And in these paintings, they are all in one subject, human trafficking. So that painting with the mother and the child, that's the first painting of his story.
I'm happy to see that young people are sensitive to the world around them and the cultures around them. They are aware of their world, and they really do want to make it better.
Art is very important in my life because it's a release. I love painting, I love drawing. It's just something that I absolutely love to do.
Artisodes congratulates Brooke Hill of UCF, our Student Artist of the Week. Delavon, Wisconsin is preserving its history on the sides of local buildings with a little help from a small army of painters.
Having a Wall Dog event is like opening up an artist studio, and anybody can watch and see from start to finish how we prepare all this art.
The Delavan Wall Dog project was brought up about 3 years ago by Brad and Kit Bando. They own Brushfire Signs. And he and his wife, Kit, are wall dogs. They thought it'd be neat to bring it to this area, and they thought that Delavan had the most to offer. So they approached the Downtown Business Association and started talking to them about the project and how they think that it could impact Delavan.
The Delavan Wall Dogs is basically just the community that we're in, Delavan, Wisconsin, Circus Town, and they're inviting other artists from this community that have never done this before and paint with us.
We can't do anything, any business that is still in business, because this is not advertising, this is all history.
Primarily what we do is we celebrate the history.
Yeah, of the town.
We go back into history of the town to find out the most important things and try to include that.
Delavan is ideal for a Wall Dog event because the history isn't singularly focused. It started as a temperance colony, so the people who founded it didn't believe in alcohol, slavery. They had like people move here so they could have a place where they could live with people like themselves. And then the circus came in, and the Mabee brothers decided to start their winter quarters here. They chose Delavan because it was so similar to their hometown in New York, and many other circuses followed. Then there's the artist colony here at the turn of the century. The Chicago Art Institute held classes, summer classes here, and drew not only lots of artists here, but it also became a tourist trade. Tourists would start coming to watch the artists paint.
That's mainly what we went for, was their history, and they had a lot of good walls. Delavan's got the brick street, it's an older town, it's perfect. It's perfect. All the right walls, all the right subjects.
Like a lot of old communities are struggling their downtown areas because of all the modernization moving out of town.
And this always brings tourism. People always, they hear about that the murals are here, people just love it.
And other towns that have had the Wall Dogs come have seen that. The Wall Dogs arrive on Wednesday. That night, they project their artwork after the sun goes down, sometimes with a digital projector, sometimes with an overhead. And they're on ladders and scaffolding with Sharpies, and they're tracing their artwork. They have it projected on the wall, and they're tracing. Then Thursday morning, they start painting. So they're painting all day because they have just 4 days to finish up these big murals that normally would take a lot longer, but they do have a lot of people working on it at once.
We have people from Germany is the furthest away, and Canada. We have a lot of guys from Georgia, Florida, a new person from Arizona. We pretty much covered the whole United States. I don't think we have a state we haven't hit this time. And I think our total number is about 160 artists that showed up.
It's quite a legacy.
Yeah. And they love it, and that's what it's all about. Painting, teaching, sharing what we know. When we're done, we'll have 18 murals.
We did the first mural. Our mural depicted the legacy of Elmer Gauger, who was a local artist. And he was a fine artist, but he was also a sign painter. So he took the flavor of Delavan and just spread it everywhere. He took photos of everything. So it was a surprise for everybody to go back in their father and grandfather's legacy and just visit the places he was at and the things he did.
One of them is a children's mural done by the local high school teacher.
So we also have P.T. Barnum. He started his circus here in Delavan, and over a period of time, there was 38 circuses that either started here or merged here. There was a cigar factory, which we didn't know.
We have the Big Band's Ballroom. I talked to the art club from Lake Geneva, and one of the ladies, when we were talking, said, I used to come to the dances at the ballroom, so we're honoring that. The Red Devils, they had a semi-pro football team in Delavan, so we're honoring the Red Devils, and we're surprised how many people still knew about that.
The Red Devils started the same year as the Packers started.
Yep. Yeah, so they're extra popular.
Yeah.
Yes. The boats, the history of the boats on the lake, we're celebrating that.
The most prized mural that they wanted to see was something for the deaf school.
Yeah.
Which was amazing, above the circus.
We're using acrylic-based paints, quicker dry time, they blend a little easier. When we're done, these walls will be clear coated, and then maybe every other year we'll put a clear coat on, and they should last a very long time.
We have several of the murals located downtown, but we are trying to keep them in groupings that people would be able to see several by walking around. So you're able to drive past some and walk around. And I think they're well placed.
And people were just walking around, thanking the artists, and the artists stop and they talk because, it's a great time. They want to get to know the artists. Artists want to get to know the history about the town, about their subject. There's always a story.
Passion drives this.
We all love to paint. We don't get to do it every day. So when you get to paint with your friends, that's the best.
We serve a function. We're an educational group too.
Yeah.
We're bringing the past to the future.
I want them to walk away with pride in their town. Now they can say, we're a Wall Dog town, we've got some awesome history, and I want them to start coming back downtown.
That's the type of movement that the Wall Dogs are. We're trying to make positive change.
We have a history of art, And so it's important to share that, and it's important for anybody coming to visit here. They're going to be able to learn through art. And we know after it's done that we're going to have something to be really proud of.
What do you get when you combine old metal parts, clay, bright colors, and a whimsical outlook? Some very eye-catching sculptures, for one thing.
I've always thought that I would do art. From a very young age. I loved looking at art. I loved paints. I loved all of that. When I was 18, I started taking classes, just private classes. The first pottery class was very exciting, and I thought, this is me. This is me. I've got to do this. Working in pottery, it's the tactile, it's the feel of the clay. I love layers and building on those layers, and clay just allows you to do that. You can build anything out of clay, and that got me interested and keeps me coming back. I would see a piece and I would think, I can put a head on that, or I can make that into a dog. From that point then, that's when I start sculpting. And sometimes I throw pieces, like say the head or the body. I'll shape it like he has a fat belly or skinny arms. And then the next step would be to fire it. And then from there, I apply an underglaze, like a solid color over it. And then I'll come back and I'll do my China painting, which is layers of color. So you get some depth in your painting that way. And that's what makes the characters come to life then. I love taking an object and then turning it into something. When something's completed, I don't always love it at first. I have to kind of let it just kind of sit. And I've got to just kind of take it in. I always end up loving it, but that's not the first initial response. Sometimes I've spent so much time that I'm actually tired of that piece. So sometimes I have to just kind of get away from it. Or I have to see it through new eyes, like taking it to a show or something and having someone else see it. Being in my studio, it's kind of a meditation. Actually, I just kind of start fiddling around, and before I know it, I've been out there a while. And it's just, it's relaxing, and it's where I like to be. I'll work in small bursts and go out there because I know I need to get things done. When I'm just able to work at my own pace, I slow it down and take my time. I love gardening, and so I started making my own pots, which a lot of potters do. And I like whimsical faces. I would sculpt these face pots, and then I would search out plants that would make unique hair. I think they all have like this little story, and they're funny. We try to do funny and whimsical stories. The Yard Art is a collaboration of my husband and myself, and we started just kind of garage sailing and antiquing and that kind of thing. We found that we both appreciated rust, apparently, metal, and so then we built a totem together and just found out that we really enjoyed it. I think as an artist, a lot of times it's just what's in your heart. It's your taste and the aesthetics of what appeals to you. I love where I'm at right now. I love what I'm doing. I love that I can incorporate other things that I've learned over the years with my sculptures. I can China paint them, I can glaze them, I can use graphite on them if I want. I'm at a spot where even though I feel like a jack of all trades, it has helped me to get where I am. People get a kick out of seeing it, and that keeps me going. I love that. I love that people see humor and enjoy it.
The old song says, "Love is a many-splendored thing." One muralist wants his fellow Houstonians to keep that thought in mind all year long.
Yeah, a lot of people have come to me and seen the love signs and told me stories about it's made them happier, and I don't know, use it for their wedding photo or something like that. That really makes me happy as an artist. It makes me want to do more stuff. That's, I don't know, a compliment that I love to hear is people recognizing my work and seeing it around town. My name is Wiley Robertson. I'm a working artist, muralist, lived in Houston my whole life. I've always loved positive artwork. So many signs in Houston, like strip centers and lots of ugly signs. I thought it'd be nice to do like some positive reminders around the city. Something bright, hand-painted, colorful for people to enjoy when they drive around or stuck in traffic or what have you. When I first started doing the street art, like most stickers and like posters I saw were all black and white. So I thought it'd be different if I could do something that was like really colorful and really bright. That would help make it stick out, or at least people can recognize my style just from the colors, sort of. So by doing that, I was able to reach people I would never reach before, because Houston is a huge city. And that's really what excites me a lot, is just new people seeing my work. I mean, when I first started doing it, it was all just the signs. 2 years ago, I started doing more big love installations. Bigger and brighter and better is always more fun. Dandy Warhol was running a gallery there, and he had mentioned it to me like in passing, I think at some point, that if I wanted to, I could get up there and paint it. So eventually I picked him up on that and got all the ladders required and equipment and got up there and painted it. And it's a lot of fun because I'm sure at least 500,000 people see it a day. Some people can see the word love and probably bad connotations or whatever, broken up recently or something like that. But yeah, like there's so much stuff in Houston. There's such a daily grind people get caught up in, work and life. It's nice just to have a little subtle reminder hidden, sprinkled throughout Houston. I really just want to cover my artwork throughout Houston and just continue to improve my work as a muralist, continue to promote myself. I hope that the younger generation gets inspired and does even more awesome stuff than I'm doing and people I know, and keep seeing more graffiti and street art. Love.
That's all for this week on WUCF Artisodes. Thanks for watching. For more arts and culture, visit our website at wucftv.org/artisodes, where you can find feature videos and more.